Being a leader can be amazing. However, it can actually be quite stressful. Deadlines, team challenges, managing conflict, and constant pressure can take a toll. Today I'm going to share some of the strategies I use in my own leadership to help navigate my stress. These aren't one type fits all kind of solutions, but hopefully they'll help you find some ideas to help combat your own stress and find balance. Now, in leadership, you'll often juggle many priorities and have to navigate through a lot of different situations, which can get overwhelming. However, if you don't manage it well for yourself in terms of your own balance and stress, you can be presenting yourself as a strung out, anxious and chaotic leader, which makes it pretty hard to inspire and successfully lead your team. Stress also really impacts on clarity and focus. This can really cloud your judgment. I'm sure we've all had times where we're under enormous pressure and there's a deadline due in minutes or a week away that is causing us a lot of feelings of overwhelmed stress. And then somebody interrupts you in the middle of getting into your flow, and it's all you can do not to bite their head off. Managing yourself helps you think clearer, make effective decisions, but also be a nicer leader. Now, chronic stress can really lead to burnout, impacting your health and leadership effectiveness. If you aren't managing your stress, you will often find yourself picking up colds and flu and feeling unwell more often than usual as your immune system becomes compromised and is actually really triggered by stress. A leader under stress also really impacts on team culture. A stressed out leader will set the tone, and not in a good way. Prioritizing your well-being creates a better environment for everyone. So let's delve into some of the things I use in my toolkit. The first one is prioritization and delegation. Not everything needs to be done by you. Learn to delegate effectively amongst your team and trust them to undertake tasks as it empowers them too. This is one area that I know I need to really watch when I'm under pressure, as often I'll get into a bit of a focus and I'll just want to get through all the things that are on my list, and I'll forget to delegate, as in my head I'll be thinking, oh, it's faster if I just get it done myself. But actually it just adds more pressure. And delegating appropriately really helps you manage your workload and your stress. Prioritization is part of this too. I always check through my diary at the start of the day and reprioritize it according to what I know I need to get done, as often things will change overnight. I also make sure that I have space for all of the tasks that I know are coming up by putting them into my diary like appointments, where they give me a trigger that says you need to complete this report before next week, and it locks out a time allocation that I've already set to get it done then. I also ensure that I schedule things a few days before they're actually due, as if something else comes up, I know that I have a little bit of fat left in my schedule and I'm not feeling really overwhelmed. I have found that this is the only way for me to keep on top of all my work, as if I just keep a running list, I start to feel really overwhelmed and don't really know where to start, particularly with things changing all the time. So while I might start the day with a new list of tasks, I'll then spend the time putting them in my calendar and blocking out the time I need to complete them, so that then I can forget about them because I know that I've got time for them later. It ensures that I don't forget anything and that I operate really efficiently and don't feel stressed and overwhelmed. I also am very careful about setting boundaries. It's important to remember that it is actually okay to say no and disconnect, particularly when you're thinking about establishing boundaries between your home and your work life. Schedule time for yourself to recharge. I have learned to do this over time, and admittedly having kids really fast-tracked the need for this in my life. I had previously been doing a lot of extra hours whenever I needed to. I travelled a bit for work, and it wasn't until I had kids that I really had to lock it in tight and stop working all the time outside of work. And I found ways to make this work for me better. And one of those was choosing to work in an organisation which has a working from home policy, which allows me to drop that commute time on certain days of the week which really helps me be more present and available for my family. I also tend to work with short breaks in my day rather than long periods such as long lunches. This means I stay focused, and what also drives me is that I know I want to get everything finished in the day that I need to, so that I don't have to work longer at night when I really want to spend time with my kids. I have also done a video on balancing your career and your family, which I'll link on the screen. But I find that keeping a really structured day and diary is essential to make the most of my time. I also ensure that I incorporate mindfulness and exercise. I find waking up early and exercising before my kids get up is the most efficient use of my time and ensures that I get the exercise done and it doesn't eat into the other end of my day. It also really balances me out, ready for my work day. I also go through periods of meditating before I exercise. I find that I usually fall into this when I'm dealing with something that's quite stressful or is occupying a lot of my headspace. If I can just find even just 10 minutes to meditate in the morning before I start my day, I find it helps reset me. I also know that if I don't schedule exercise first thing in the morning, I won't have time later, or I won't make time later. The other healthy habits that I try and incorporate include sleep. I know that if I don't go to bed before 10 o'clock, I'm going to be really tired getting up early for exercise the next morning, so I try to prioritize my sleep. I do find this a bit of a challenge, as it is the other end of the day that I like to spend on this channel, and that's when I have time to actually put some work into it when everyone else is asleep. So I know I have to balance this and not go to bed too late. The other part of looking after myself is ensuring that I'm eating properly and staying hydrated. I tend to fast during the day because it works well for me, and I find that if I fast first thing in the morning, I actually feel more focused about getting into my work. I've also been surprised how much time that I used to spend on finding food, preparing food, choosing food, and it really has made that part of my day a lot more efficient. So I usually fast till around 4 o'clock in the day, which I think superpowers my focus, and there are a lot of health benefits associated with fasting. But when I do eat, I make sure that it's really nutritious so that I'm getting the most out of my food. The other important thing that I have found has really helped me with stress is not taking myself too seriously. Finding humour in small moments, even in really challenging times, really helps me get through. I learnt this from a previous manager who really inspired me because they were a really approachable and authentic leader. And I think part of this was the fact that they always had a really great sense of humour, which kind of brought them down to earth and made them really approachable as a leader. I had previously thought that being a leader was really serious work and you needed to be very professional all the time. But I've realised that having that veneer of being really professional means that people can't really see the true you, and you don't come across as that authentic. So while I am professional and I have my own standards and values that I live up to, I also try to have a little bit of fun at work and make sure that I'm not taking myself too seriously. Now, for those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Nikki. I've been in leadership for 17 years and have gone from leading just 2 people to leading leaders of large teams. Now, it also helps to remember that you aren't alone. Find a group of colleagues or friends or a mentor that you can talk things through and perhaps even have a bit of a laugh about it when it is really challenging to help get you through. Remember also that keeping an open communication with your team can mean acknowledging the pressure that you're feeling at that point in time. It also normalizes it. You don't have to go into great detail about it, but it just helps normalize the fact that we all feel stress at one point or another, and means that your team will bring it to you if they're feeling the same thing. Another part of this is remembering that you are leading by example and your team are watching you. So watch the little things, like the times where you sent an email at night time because you suddenly remembered it needed to be done, and the impact that that could be having on your team in terms of them believing that, oh, well, if you're working at 9 o'clock at night, maybe I should be working a little bit later too. So don't put that pressure on them, and make sure that You do those little things like scheduling the email to send at 8 o'clock in the morning if you know that it's too late. Managing stress really does take practice, and I think it takes a structure that you put in place yourself about how you navigate your life and giving you back that balance. A balanced, well-rested leader is a more effective leader. So take breaks, prioritize your well-being, and encourage your team to do the same. Share in the comments below your best stress hacking tips. And be sure to watch my next video linked on the screen about how everyone is watching you as a leader. Thanks very much for watching.